I'm lost, I'm in the middle of a fucking jungle, and I'm gonna die. Hello there, hoppers, and welcome. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, the new Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous series has finally been released. But unless you have a Netflix account, watching it is going to be just a little difficult. But I didn't need a Netflix account in order to witness this show, because my account was first fucking hand. Yes, I managed to stow away on the island and I witnessed it as it unfolded right before my very eyes. And as you can see, things got a little too close for comfort. In fact, my intention was to actually do the damn review on the island, but things didn't exactly go as according to plan. Anyway, now that we're in the safety of my own home, and now that I've been able to watch the show again, thanks to one of my friend's Netflix accounts, it's time to finally give my first and second thought review of Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. But I'm not going to do it alone, as I have my good friend Jake on the other line, and he is going to join us in our Jurassic World discussion of Camp Cretaceous. Season 1. The Netflix show. It's animated. Let's just get on with it, shall we? So, ladies and gentlemen, time to bring in Jake. If he's still there. Hello, Jake, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
Yeah, I'm alright. So, let's get straight into things. So, Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. So before we get into any of the finer details, what did you think? What was your initial first thoughts?
Pleasantly surprised, actually. I didn't have much hope from the trailers. And obviously we're going into detail as to why later on. But
yeah.
I don't know, when I heard that Netflix were doing a show within canon to the Jurassic series, I was like, oh, okay. They've been pretty successful with, you know, some of the Marvel shows they did and things like that. So I had faith in Netflix to kind of create something. And then when it came out, there was an animation, and then obviously a much younger targeted animation. I was kind of skeptical on it, but no, I was actually quite pleasantly surprised at what we got.
Okay, yeah. Did you see any of the, because obviously DreamWorks, this isn't the first, obviously we'll talk about the animation itself later, but have you seen any of the Fast and Furious animations they did? Because obviously they did the show. I don't know too much about it, but I know it's very much the same style as this Camp Cretaceous.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, actually, because I had no idea that show existed until I saw an article about 2 days ago. So,
all right.
And I was like, hang on a minute, there's an animated show for Fast and Furious? But in terms of DreamWorks TV shows that I have seen, it would be the How to Train Your Dragon spin-off series.
Oh, okay.
You know, like Riders of Berk, and God, I think they did like 4 or 5 of them.
And how do they compare? Obviously, I don't want to go too off topic, but how do they compare to the films? 'Cause obviously, it's the same company, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, they're less a studio.
Yeah. Obviously, the budget makes a big difference. You don't get the spectacle of the animation that you get in the films, but as a whole, the scripts were pretty tight. Like,
Cool.
You know, pretty enjoyable.
Yeah.
They're not as complex as the films. Obviously, the Train Your Dragon series was quite deep in terms of
it had
its themes
more mature
and...
themes and stuff, didn't it? But,
Definitely.
But overall, it felt like a natural continuation.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, so in other words, it is possible even with this company, because obviously the reason why this is relevant is, and we'll get to it later, obviously how I feel, I'm kind of two minds about this show. Part of me really liked it for some reasons, and part of me really didn't for others, which we'll get into. Obviously, everyone out there, you're entitled to your own opinion. I understand that first and foremost this is technically for kids, and we have to acknowledge that, so a lot of these criticisms are from a more adult perspective, but you've got to remember that it is being considered canon. And for those reasons, I think it warrants some of the criticisms I give it, because it's not like Jurassic World Lego the show, where it's literally so bad, but its only purpose is to entertain kids that don't know what's going on in a way.
Yeah.
It's meant to just be as goofy and stupid as possible. I still don't agree with it. I still think there's some great kids shows, like when we grew up. I still think there were some great kids shows, like, you know, even Rugrats, like we were talking about this the other day, even Rugrats had some really good stories, and it's about babies, but it never felt babyish, really, with the execution. Like, especially when you watch it now, there's like some really dark themes, like, Christ, like, you know, like they were quite mature with some of their themes, and even Tommy's dad, what's his name? I forget his name. Stu, that's it, right? Even he seems to be suffering from some kind of depression. When you watch it now, you're just like, oh Christ, you know.
Yeah.
And there's
failing inventor.
Inventor. I think probably somewhere along the lines, probably a failed marriage almost. That's probably why they have the other kid from the film. What's his name? I forget his name.
Dill,
that's it, Dill. Oh, I used to like Dill. Not from Rugrats. There's a crocodile called Dill I used to like from another show. It was like a kids special. A VHS special about dinosaurs, so it's relevant. After talk about that one day, Christ. I remember all the dinosaurs. You know, you may think we're dinosaurs, but we're not. Oh, Christ. If I have been born a dinosaur. Oh, Christ. All coming back to me now. And before I start singing that song, let's move on. But yeah, so what I'm saying is it doesn't have to be really, really stupid, baby, nothing makes sense. It's all just goofy to be a kid's show.
No.
Exactly. Kids shows can still be very clever. They don't have to be mature in the sense of they have to be violent or they have to be depressing. But it's just, they can be intelligent, right? Good. Because now we've established that, we can talk about the show. But I just want to get those points across because I feel like a lot of my criticisms, people are probably going to be like, it's just for kids. But I don't think that's a good enough excuse, and that's why I'm establishing that now. Because you know what it's like. It's like anything. When you talk about sci-fi and everything, you say that was unrealistic, and people go, it's just a film or something, and it frustrates me because the whole purpose of a film to get you involved is to get you believing the lore of the world. Even something as fantastical as like Star Wars, where the Jedi have powers that, you know, they can move this, they can move that. The reason why audiences get annoyed when a new Force ability, for example, like in the newer Star Wars films, gets introduced and it seems too good to be true is because of exactly that. Because for all these films, we're already having to suspend our disbelief on the abilities they already have. But then when you kind of make it even, just see what I mean, like even more so than it is, it's kind of hard to accept it in a way.
Yeah,
it's a bit like it's like it's a bit like in Empire Strikes Back. Luke's training, he's lifting up all these rocks, and even Yoda, he's like trying to balance all his stuff. He's lifting R2-D2 up. He's sweating, he's struggling. He can't even lift the damn X-wing out of the swamp because it's too much. And you can physically, although it's not real, you can physically see him trying to lift it. Like you can get the idea that there is some, like, you feel the weight, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it establishes that you do feel it. But then when you've got like Rey, I know I'm not getting into the Star Wars films, I'm not even touching those Star Wars films. People are entitled to their own opinion. All I'm saying is I'm using an example because I think the reason why people had a lot of problems with Rey is because there's that shot, I think in The Last Jedi, where she's moving all these bloody boulders and she's just looking around going, huh. Like, there's no gravity, there's no weight. So what I'm saying is, even in something as crazy, something as non-realistic to our perspective of reality and what is real and what is possible, something as, like I said, fantastical as Star Wars, it can still be grounded in a reality that you can accept. But then when something like that happens, it throws you out of it. And I think it applies to kids shows as well. So with that being said, let's actually talk about the show. I just had to get that. It's kind of like, because again, there's a lot of criticisms that I will get to. But so, what should we talk about first? So obviously the basic plot is, as you'd know, I don't want to spend too much time with it. It is literally as basic as you could imagine. It's as basic as the synopsis. Take two. It's as basic as the hypnosis. Is that right? Synopsis shit. After right, take three. It's as... What is it again?
Synopsis,
alright. Gefilte fish! It's as basic as the actual...
Synopsis.
For fuck's sake. Oh, shit. Hypnosis, is it? Is it?
Synopsis.
Fuck's sake, it's Penguin all over again, ain't it? It's
Don't even start that.
Penguin. Right, so here we go.
Still not right, but anyway.
Fuck's sake. I know, it's just an example. Fucking hell. I call Benedict Cumberbatch, he understands. It's as basic as my ass. So what is it? Tell me what it is and I'll say it.
Synopsis.
It's as basic as the synopsis itself. There we are, I got there and they weren't worth it, but there we are. So basically what I'm saying is the basic plot, synopsis, whatever you want to fucking call it, it's very basic. They get on the island, they're here to experience Camp Cretaceous, which is a new event that's going to be released to the public shortly, but they're like seeing it for the first time. It's like exclusive to them. They're like the select few witnessing it for the first time. It's kind of
like the first. It's like the first Jurassic Park, isn't it? It's like a select
group
that are previewing it before the public.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. So if anything, you got your first reference right there, haven't you, to Jurassic Park? The only problem is, where's Jurassic Park? You actually see some stuff. Here you don't. You see a fucking zip line, and that's it. The rest of it's just jungle. Oh, we've done another Jurassic World film. What are we going to see this time? Jungle. It's fucking jungle. I've had enough of the fucking jungle. Trust me, I was in one. It sucks. I got fucking lost. That's how much it looks the same. It's overrated piece of shit. The first one made sense, right? They had to escape into the jungle. The second one was a jungle. I can live with that. You know, but even then, Spielberg knew that people were going to want to see these dinosaurs on the mainland. So that's why he put the T-Rex at the end, and everyone bitched about it. But the truth is, if he hadn't have done that, we would have bitched about it. And then the third one, what did they think? They thought, fucking hell, let's go back to the jungle. It's the wrong jungle. And then Jurassic World comes out, and I think finally we're actually going to see a working park. There's going to be a lot of people that could get killed. It's going to be scary. Like, I had lots of ideas I'm not going to get into now. Obviously, I did a video on it. There's the picture. The link to the description. Obviously, I've got a lot more to say than just what I did in that video, but that video gives you a basic rundown of how I think a show about Jurassic World could go. And yet, what do we get? We don't even really get a show. I'd actually call this pretty much, it feels like a spin-off kids film of Jurassic World.
Kind of. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it feels empty.
Yeah, it feels like dinosaur attack, dinosaur attack, dinosaur attack. I tell you what, the dinosaur attacks get boring very quickly, and the reason why is because before all hell breaks loose on the island, they're already causing problems. It's like, we have to get to the characters. We have to get to the characters. You know, so let's have a look. I've made a shit ton of notes, and I ain't afraid to say it because I tell you, I'm literally gonna have to be looking through these because I wrote a lot. So,
shock horror.
Literally, we're gonna have to take this as we can. So, all right, let's talk about some good stuff because a lot of the comments lean more towards the negative. Lean more. They're not all bad, but. And again, we'll talk about characters in a minute. So, is there anything good we can say about the show other than characters and other than... Well, yeah, that really. Is there anything good we can say about the show?
Yeah.
Good answer.
I think a good thing that they did was that I found quite surprising, because once I knew it was a kids show, I expected it to be dumbed down, was the use of the backstory with one character, but then also the use of some of the violence that's in it.
Yeah.
To an extent, it's violence. There's no blood or anything, but you know, in the opening scene, admittedly, it's a video. That's not the point. He's on a VR video game that wins his ticket to the island or whatnot, and you got the T-Rex creeping up on you, and to jump on that poor guy who's running to the helicopter with you, and I was like, oh, okay, we're doing that. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be all babyfied, and they could hurt you, but then they never do, so the stakes never felt high. But it surprised me in that it actually did go a bit further.
Okay, I mean, I see what you're saying, and yeah, I'd want to agree with that. But personally, I don't think they went far enough, and I don't think it was. I don't think it was enough. I'm not expecting to see a severed arm or a leg. I'm not expecting to see gore, but as soon as I saw like people getting killed off camera, I was like, okay. But it never felt scary, and that's not because I'm an adult. It's because the kids didn't look scared. And when the two workmen die, you don't feel for them because they just appear to die. Like, they literally appear, kids, what are you doing up there? You know, and to make matters worse, all the park workers are arseholes, and I mean all of them. We'll get to Roxy and Dave. Fucking hell, most useless pair. We'll get to them. Fucking hell, I've got something to say about them, all right, Christ. I'm going to do a whole video on those stupid bastards, right? So these two workers show up out of nowhere, and they get killed. I don't feel anything for them. I don't even think the kids seem to care that much, because in the next scene, despite surviving like 100-foot drop from a zip line, I don't care if the trees broke the fall. The only thing those trees would have done is break their back. But no, they're unscathed, and it happened too many times. It weren't just the once, it happened too many times. Like, they literally fell from a massive height twice and survived without scratch. Like, the only thing that started to tear was their clothes. Nothing else happened.
Could you blame that on the animation? Or
yes, which we'll get to. I can't say it's because there's no violence, because I've seen kids shows with bits of blood and stuff, and like I said, not gushing, but you can have a scratch, for fuck's sake, even if it's not open wound.
I mean, I know it's a completely different show, and technically it does have an adult audience, but The Simpsons always shown blood and things. But I know it's a 2D cartoon, but again, this is animated as well, whether it's 2D or 3D.
Exactly. I mean,
there is
obviously,
you know, you can have cuts and grazes and bruises and black eyes and whatnot, and it's not there to make it more adult. It's there to make it more real.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's there to make it more impactful. You know, the stakes never felt high to me because they weren't even getting harmed. Like, I think the most that ever happened was, I think, Yaz, or Yasminda, whatever her name was. She like Yasmina. She like sprained her ankle at one point, and that was it. That's the closest any of them got to being damaged. I mean, even Ben, when that happened, he still. We'll get to Ben. Like I said, I don't want to talk about everything just yet, so we'll get to that. But yeah, so as far as I'm concerned,
Ben's essentially Captain Scarlet.
Fucking hell, he is now. He'll be fucking Robinson Crusoe in the second series, I guarantee it. But we'll get to that. Predictions, we'll get to that. Story of my life, we'll get to it. Never do. So, but we will, because it's about characters. So. But yeah, no, in terms of violence personally, maybe not necessarily more violence, but I think it should have been more impactful violence. It's almost like something bad happens, and they almost want the characters to forget about it to an extent so they can still be themselves, but they never had much character in the first place. It comes across as really forced, and it's like Kenji, for example. Kenji's a son of a bitch, right? You know, they watch two park workers get killed, and in the next scene he's laid back and he's like, yeah, we're cool. Darius, you can take the lead, mate, because if anyone dies, it's your own fault. You know, and he's all cocksure of himself. And it's only like 10 minutes later he says to him, you know, you could die and all. And that's when he's like, what? You know, it's like, come on, are you that stupid? And I actually don't think Kenji doesn't change until, spoiler alert, Ben gets apparently killed. Like, once Ben goes, that's when he really changes a lot. He starts to become really like... But that should have happened when he saw the guys die.
To an extent, though, I don't think any of the characters changed at all. They didn't. All the events that happened in the park, they didn't really, not really develop in my eyes.
Well, one character I think did, but we'll get to them.
Okay.
But yeah, what we'll do is we'll talk about the characters in a sec. So we'll come back to this. But yeah, violence. Yeah, I weren't expecting it anymore. I just wanted the stakes to be more real. And when I say violence, I don't mean deaths. I just mean physical damage. They didn't seem bruised. They weren't even really cut. Their clothes were just muddy. And that was the film. And like I said, you got like the Legend of Korra, which I prefer The Last Airbender. You know, Avatar The Last Airbender. Great show. It's a kid's show. It technically is a kid's show. But it's probably the best. I'll probably mention it quite a few times when talking about this show, because it is a perfect example of how to structure... a show. It is how to tell characters, how to write characters, how to put mature themes in a kid's show, how to literally talk about the impact of war, but still have fun with it. Like, not saying, war's fun. The war parts aren't, but they can still have fun around it, even if it is just to get their minds off of it. But anyway, the reason I bring it up is because they get roughed up, they get cuts, they get bruises. Hell, one of the main characters got a fucking scar on his face all the time because of what his dad did to him. Spoiler alert. So, what I'm saying is, you don't have to be gory and you don't have to overdo it, but you can still show certain stuff as impact, right?
Yeah.
You know, and the reason I brought up The Legend of Korra is because there's a scene, again, spoiler alert, but I'm not really revealing too much. One of the main characters, you know, I won't even say his name just so I'm not, you know, giving everything away. One of the main characters is facing off against like 3 or 4 thugs, and they look like they're going to kick his ass, right? And it's so, apparently, what happens to him is apparently so brutal, the camera pans away as they're beating him up. Now that has so much impact because, you know, the camera's like, yeah, you ain't watching this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a maturer show. Like, Legend of Korra is even more maturer, not necessarily for a good reason, but again, that's a story for another time. It's even more maturer than the first few series of The Last Airbender, because by that point they knew they had a more mature audience, so I think they tried to cater for them, but in my opinion it didn't work. But the point I'm trying to make is, you don't have to show the damn violence, it's just the implication, and it's the execution, and I don't think the execution of the executioned, you know, the people being killed, I don't think the execution was good enough. I mean, it didn't really affect the kids that much. Like I said, they watched a couple of guys get killed, and in the next scene, Kenji's still up himself. They don't seem to have changed too much. Like, I'd be shitting myself. I'd be like, we saw 2 guys get fucking eaten, right? Fucking eaten. Full stop, right? It's like, I don't know. Like, let's move on. So let's speak about one of the biggest missed opportunities that I have. Something that's got nothing to do with violence, nothing really to do with the main plot when they're on the island. It's actually before the island. So one of my biggest problems with the show is how they deal with the individual kids getting to the island. And what I mean by that is Darius, our main character, I guess you could call, because we get mainly introduced to him. So he wins a prize, and he's the only person to complete the game, and that's a fucking big deal, right? But it's like overlooked. It looks like he plays the game twice, and he's won. And no one even knows.
Thinks about it in bed for 10 minutes, and then suddenly done it.
I mean, yeah, we're told in dialogue, and that's another thing. There is some cringe-worthy exposition in this show. Cringe-worthy.
Yeah.
Show don't tell. Show don't fucking tell. Right. So we might as well just talk about Darius, because this is his whole story. So I might as well just talk about him now. So obviously Darius has this really, really tragic backstory about, like, him and his dad. They always wanted to go to Jurassic World. His dad sadly dies before he gets there of some illness, so we assume it's cancerous. It looks like it.
I assume it's cancer. Yeah, it seems that way. It's never confirmed. It's never named in the show, which you can understand why, but with its target audience, you don't really want to be throwing the word cancer in. But
exactly,
it's enough to know he was unwell and didn't make it.
Exactly, and obviously without going into too much detail, both Jake and myself have had our fair amount of experience with cancer in our families, so we know all too well how horrific it can be. And for those reasons, I think it really did resonate with me a lot more than maybe the average person.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's the same for you.
Yeah, definitely.
So I commend them for that, because it's a horrible subject.
It's an everyday thing. At the end of the day,
that's the truth of it.
You know, it is the truth. There are children out there who lose their parents very to cancer, and it's good that there's representation of that. And it's a shame that they didn't. In a way, it sounds, I don't know whether I'm putting it in the right way, they didn't play on it more.
No,
because,
yeah, exactly what I was going to say. So I'm glad you've said that.
Because it's like that happened, and then there was, like, throughout the series, never like a full episode dedicated to Darius winning the ticket, and then at the end of the first episode he gets to the island and it cuts to the credits. It was like within the first 5-10 minutes he was at the island. Yeah, and that's exactly that was exactly what I wanted to do. I think personally episode 1 maybe a bit like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because let's face it is a big deal. It's like the golden ticket. I'm glad you've said that, because literally the whole time I've sort of been thinking about it. Obviously, it's been nearly 2 weeks since I've watched the show, but you've got a group of kids that are a once in a lifetime opportunity, the first people to see this.
Yep.
It is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
And whether you like the original more or the remake like we do, it's that premise, that structure in the story. You got to know Charlie. You got to know that he was a very poor child from a poor family who survived off cabbage soup, and his grandparents had to share a bed. You know, and you know
he
he's got holes in his roof.
He deserves the ticket.
And then by luck he finds some money on the floor and he gets his golden ticket, and oh my god, look at this magical world.
Yeah.
That's what this show didn't do. It kind of went, oh yeah, within 5 minutes he's worked out a game that apparently no other person on the planet can work out.
And I know why they did that, because as it's revealed pretty much in the show, no one else played the game, clearly, because no one has a fucking clue who he is or what he won. He's just like, hi, my name's Darius, I won a VR game and won my place. They're like, oh yeah, wouldn't that be on the news?
Well, this is what I mean, and this is what I mean by the show
or
felt
something.
Empty.
Yeah.
This is what I mean by it felt very empty and inclusive, because I know it's called Camp Cretaceous, and the whole point is that they're in this camp separate to the rest of Jurassic World. But when it's set during the events of the Indominus breaking out, and they are starting to interweave the two things,
yeah,
it
at
loses. Points I was like, it loses merit in a way. I like how they did that. I like how it sort of tail ended.
I think it had to happen eventually, but yeah,
it needed to cross over more. So it needed. We needed to see the park because it didn't feel like they were on Isla Nublar with the park there.
Jungle. It's just a fucking another. We get another fucking Jurassic story in a fucking jungle. Like, they should have had VIP access, a bit like Zack and Gray. We should have been able to see parts of the island we never saw, but in a good way. All we saw was, you know, that's the camp up there. All we're gonna see is a bunk bed and the world's shittest sweets dispenser. Literally, he's just like, oh, I'm popping out. We get to him in a minute, but he's just like, oh, I'm popping out. He's just like, I'm thirsty. They got water. He's like, oh, I mean, I'm hungry. And they show him like the world's biggest fucking ping pong balls, as you know. This is my biggest problem with the show as a whole, and there's no excuse for it. Whether it was budgetary issues, because obviously to animate more people means more budget, more money, more time. Yeah. Or what? But the whole thing, they didn't even walk down the boulevard that leads up to the visitor centre. Mate, the whole thing felt like, and this is what I want to say, right? I'd actually go hands down. My biggest issue with the damn show is it looks shit. In my opinion, it looks shit. I don't like the animation style. Like,
it looks so cheap.
Thank you. I was just about to say, it looks like it was on a budget, and I couldn't remember the damn word. That's it. Hit the nail on the head.
But
cheap.
You got DreamWorks, you've got Universal, you've got Amblin, you've got Netflix.
You've got
all
big
attached.
fucking money.
Huge,
big money.
Big money, and they take on Jurassic World, which is a huge franchise now.
Yep.
As a franchise, it's not just a film; it's a franchise. It's got a theme park. It's got.
Well, they're bringing out another ride now.
Merchandise coming out of it. Yeah, they're doing the
Veloso coaster or something in Florida.
Anyway, that's for another time.
That is.
It's much more than just a film series. So you can't tell me there wasn't any money.
No.
To throw at this, and I think it shows that they didn't throw enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it just felt so detached from it.
Yeah, it's like they don't even look like they're attached to. It's funny you say detached, because literally they don't even. Sometimes I don't even feel like they're on the background. You have what I call the foot shift, where they're walking but they're kind of sliding, the foot slide. They're kind of not. They're not actually stepping on the floor. They're kind of.
They don't step into the background or into the floor. They kind of glide.
Yeah, you glide. Yeah.
Yeah.
They literally feel like they're hovering above it. And I think the first couple of episodes...
The speech doesn't match the mouth movements a lot of the time.
No, but again, speaking of cheap animation, why the hell is everything in gibberish? Everything was like dodgy fucking symbols and not in English, right?
It felt like I was playing The Sims.
The thing is, they had the audacity to show you a close-up of a letter that was just in symbols.
Yeah,
but then they also...
Like, oh my god, what's that? It's like, oh my god, look, and it's like What?
And do you know what? They're probably going to come out with some bollocks saying, "Oh, we want it to be multicultural." Now, fuck off, did you? I watch a lot of animes, believe it or not, and I don't mind the translation. Like, if it's written in Japanese because it was drawn in Japanese, fine, and then they translate it for you on the screen. What's wrong with that? You know, if it was made by, I assume, American companies and stuff, because obviously Amblin and stuff, it's an American company. They speak English, so like if they were saying, like, let's just say it was a dinosaur profile and it said sex and colour and they didn't put a U in it, it was spelt the American way of spelling colour, which is to forget about the U. I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's American. I wouldn't expect them to redo it because we spell it with a U. I wouldn't expect I'm sure if you went to Japan, they wouldn't expect them to have to translate everything for them because they literally just put something on screen for us. So what I'm saying is, again, it shows its cheapness by almost, in a way, because I don't want to put the effort in. They're like, if we just make it gibberish, it's for everyone. But that ain't the reason, and that's the point I'm trying to make. That couldn't have been the reason for that decision, because in the fucking background of one of the most awful scenes in the film, I say film by accident, one of the most awful scenes in the show, where you got Roxy and Dave sitting in a room doing fuck all, there's a fucking hang in there sign with Bumpy. I know it's not technically Bumpy, but it's a baby ankylosaurus on a pole, and it says hang in there. And I think they've only done that to sell a fucking poster. Because instead of the cat, isn't it? Hang in there.
Toys,
it's supposed to be funny. And I'm thinking, no, don't just do English when you feel like it. Everything else is in gibberish.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
It's fucking cheap. But yeah, personally, I feel, with the story, I feel it was rushed. I feel it was rushed. 4 episodes in, and on the 4th episode, it starts to tie in with the Indominus. And there's only 8 episodes. But bearing in mind, the first 2 episodes, they have near-death experiences with dinosaurs for no fucking reason. This is before the park has even gone wrong, right? And they're already stupid, right? They've had, and then episode 3, they was get killed by mud. it's like, oh my fucking god! All right, we got to talk about this. So first things first, I really want to talk about this. Damn, get it off my chest. Right, Darius. Let's talk about fucking Darius and his story that didn't work for me. So this is He gets on the island, right? He's always wanted to go. He's been dreaming of it all of his life. He wanted to go with his dad. His dad's dead, so he obviously couldn't go with him. We don't learn that till episode 4. So all we know... Well, I mean, we do. You know, you find out in the first one. His brother says it, doesn't he? But again, show don't tell. You know, instead they're just like, look, I know Dad's dead and it was your dream to go with him. It's like, this is bad writing. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's for kids. Bad writing. And basically... what happens is he gets to the island, he has a close encounter, like 2 seconds on the island, he has a close encounter with a conscript Naphis. It chooses him of all people to jump on. He has a proper close encounter with a dinosaur. I'd go to sleep very happy that night after that. But no,
he has to go and find the raptors.
He has to go find the raptors, but what's worse is, not only does he break the rules on his first night, he's been waiting so long to get on that island that day fucking 1 he breaks the rules, right? But to make matters worse, he breaks the rules because he thinks that is the compy pen. So in other words, he's trying to break out to go see a dinosaur he's already fucking seen. Now this is what I mean, and they always get killed for it. And there's no consequence. We were told when this show was coming out, we were told there'll be real consequences. Well, there weren't, was there? There weren't real injury, and there weren't real consequences, because every time they jumped from a high height, they lived and didn't get any damage, except for that one time it was crucial for the plot for her to hurt a leg after the mosasaur attack. If you can even call it an attack. And in terms of consequences, well, after what happens in the raptor pen, they should have been sent home. But they weren't, and they're all cocky about it. So yes, let's just quickly talk. Let's just quickly talk about. He breaks out, right? They said you're not allowed out. You've got to stay indoors. Tomorrow's another day, and it's not like he only saw the conscript Naphis that day. He saw a whole fucking herd of dinosaurs, a whole herd. Even the damn Brachiosaurus gave him a look. Like he was getting all the attention, and yet it weren't enough for him. And it was only day 1. Now. And then he breaks the rules. And then the next day, so in other words, next episode, his punishment after getting a slap on the wrist of almost being killed by the raptors, because he ends up in the raptor pen, trying to save Kenji, who's only there because of him in the first place. Once they're then saved, they're basically like, oh, you're in big trouble. But they're not. They get away with it, and they're all cocky about it. And the next day, their punishment is to mop up some shit. And they don't even do that.
Yeah, once the rest of them go to the thingy.
The rest of them go to the genetics lab. they have to mop up some dino shite as punishment, but they don't learn from their mistakes because they go off on their own adventure and always get killed again. They don't even mop up the shit.
My main issue with that is, surely you don't just leave 2 kids that have just broke the rules on their own.
Mate, I'm not even joking, right? Trust me. The reason I haven't mentioned that is we will get to Dave and Roxy. We will get to them. I have so much to fucking moan about. But you're right. Why would you leave them? There's 2 of you. There's fucking 2 of you. You know what? Let's just get this over and done with now. Dave and Roxy are fucking shit. Their only job is to take care of the kids. And they don't. Every single time, whether it's a bit of rain in the sky or their phone ain't working, they're like, come on, we both need to go and talk to someone. One of you stay behind. There's 2 of you. There's fucking 2 of you for a reason. Oh my god.
Yeah. And like kids, don't chase the dinosaurs when you're in the it happens. Right, we both better go. Right, okay. You both go so that they can do something wrong again.
The thing is, Dave even says it. I think it's episode 3 after the gyrosphere incident. Dave even says it to her. He's like, because she's like, we need to speak to Claire, but the radio's not working, so let's go in person. And he goes, you really think we should leave these kids here? You know, the same kids that keep getting themselves into trouble every time we turn our backs? And then she has a little think, and then she goes, we won't be long. Fucking go on your own! Yeah. Fucking go on your own! Oh my god! They have one job to do it, and then she's like, yeah, we ain't got enough staff, so Zach and Gray can't come. I'm like, no, don't even try and tie it into the film. Like, you're not understaffed, you're just really fucking shit at your job. I just couldn't believe it. There's some cringe that happens later, but oh, fucking hell, they are fucking useless. And then at the end, right, they spend most of their time doing nothing, and then when the kids are like in peril and they're trying to find them, they put up such a fight, don't they, Jake, to get help? You know, Dave's still cracking jokes. Hi there, it's Dave, and he's trying to sweet talk the woman. I'd been like, look, we've got a load of kids in a dangerous situation. We need help now. But instead, everyone treats him like shit. And I can see why, because they're useless. They probably think, oh, fucking hell, what are they on about now? As soon as they enter the room, they're thinking, oh, what do those 2 want? You know what I mean? But it's stupid. It's like, even right at the end, where they're just like, let us take one of the cars, and we'll go look for them ourselves. And they're just like, you're not authorised to take it. But they take it anyway. How are they not authorised to take it? It says Camp Cretaceous on the side. It's theirs, ain't it? Like, literally... That's surely they're surely like the only people qualified to take that stuff because it's theirs. That's from the camp. It's camp equipment, right? The rest of the park says Jurassic World, not Camp Cretaceous. Fucking hell! And then at the end, where they're just like, we've got 7 or 6 or however many fucking kids there are out there. We need to go get them. And the guy's like, no, you have to be evacuated, otherwise I'll stop you with my taser. There's one guy, there's 2 of them. And then Dave thinks he's going to crack another joke. This is episode 7. Shit's gone down, seriously. And he's still cracking jokes. He's like, well, he's like, if you refuse, I'll tase you. He's like, well, what if we refuse politely? I'm like, mate, you're not funny. Like, this is, do you know what I mean? Fucking, it's like, oh my god. And the worst bit for me is when Roxy, fucking hell. Right, so it's Detective Roxy, everyone. She's in the wrong fucking show. So they get to the mosasaur. She's so optimistic. No matter where they are on the map, they could be in the fucking T-Rex paddock, and she'll be like, "Nah, they're all right. Don't worry." Like, she better fucking hope they're all right. It's more than her job's worth. But they're literally bleeping in the middle of the lagoon, and she's like, "Don't worry, they'll be fine, Dave." And then they finally get there. And then there's no sign of them. The kayaks are empty. Any sane person would go, well, they've been eaten. But she finds a pair of sunglasses in a sea of, like, abandoned hats and stuff and scarves and God knows what else has been left behind because everyone just quickly evacuated. She finds one pair of glasses that she says were posh enough to be his, but also tacky enough to be his. So what she's saying is... So let's put it this way. You wear Ray-Bans, don't you? Ray-Band?
Ray-Bans.
So does my brother. I don't. But so does my brother. So does his girlfriend. So does my sister's husband, and that's just my family, right? So does pretty much everyone I went to college with. So does everyone I used to work with. You get the idea. In other words, one pair of shitty sunglasses aren't exclusive to one fucking person. She sees a pair of sunglasses that she deems posh enough, but also tacky enough to be Kenji's, so they must have survived. Oh yeah, that's the obvious explanation. They must have all survived because one of their glasses has been left on the side. What about the rest of them?
Couldn't have been one of the multiple thousands of other people evacuating the island.
Exactly, because we all know that they only made those one pair of glasses strictly for Kenji. And also, just because he might have got out doesn't mean everyone else did.
No,
and
true.
Do you know what's even worse though? I could sort of buy it if she was more realistic about it, but she's so happy. She's like, look, these are definitely his, so don't worry, mate, he's alright. Bitch! When are you going to take this seriously? Like, Dave is stupid, and he makes stupid jokes, and he's not taking stuff seriously, but at least he pulls slightly more concerned faces than she does. She's so optimistic all the time, but in a bad way. She's like, they're alright. Oh my god, they're in the lagoon. They're alright. Oh my god, a dead body of one of the kids. He's alright. You know what I mean? I don't think anything would faze her, and that's not a compliment. But do you know what's worse, right? I could sort of buy into the fact if she had picked up the sunglasses and gone like maybe they had a moment where they were really upset, and then she saw the sunglasses, she was like, wait a minute, there's still hope. Let's keep looking for them. I could buy into that. I'll be like, okay, that gives them a reason to keep looking. But we don't even need it, because 2 seconds after her detective work saying, I know who these belong to, they go past on the fucking train. You see it? You fucking see them. They literally look up and there they are. I'm half expecting her to go, told you.
Like the guy in Jurassic World.
Like the guy in Jurassic World. Fucking first time watching Jurassic World, you got the flare, you got the build-up, the silhouette of the T-Rex comes out, the front of the nozzle starts to come out of the shadows, and this guy behind me goes, I bet it's the T-Rex. It's like, mate, you can see it's the T-Rex at this point. You can fucking see it. And then it comes out a little further and he goes, told you. And I'm like, no, you didn't fucking tell us. You fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. As soon as he said we need more teeth, I was like, here comes the T-Rex. That's a prediction. Not fucking, oh look, the T-Rex is walking towards us. I bet it's the T-Rex. Fucking hell. But no, literally, that's what it was like. It was like, I bet they're still alive. Yeah, bitch. You clearly saw them a minute ago on the monorail, didn't you? And you just didn't want to admit it. And that's what I mean. There's so many stupid moments like that. Like, there's a bit with Ben. Ben gets a moment where he starts to grow a backbone. He puts his foot down because he wants to bring Bumpy, because they bump into Bumpy into the in the forest. And they're like, we can't bring her with us because she's going to slow us down. He's like, I want to bring her, kind of thing. And they're just like, look, they're going to slow us down. She would slow them down, realistically. You can't just bring... They're trying to fight for survival, and he's trying to bring a dinosaur that belongs on the island anyway. So what they're saying is logical. It's not like they're being harsh, you know what I mean? It's a fucking Ankylosaurus, you know, leave it behind. And, you know, yeah, I'm pretty sure if I saw a baby dinosaur, I'd want it too. But unfortunately, leave it. You know, you're going to die. It's like, fucking leave it. And then he puts his foot down. It's like supposed to be a triumphant moment. He's like, no, I will endanger the group and bring it with us. And then Brooklyn, and rightfully so, she's like, look, you're not thinking about this properly. Like, it will slow us down. We can't bring it. And he's like, well, then we just have to put it in the van. And there's a fucking van. And that's supposed to be a moment of empowerment where he's just like, all right, then, well, we'll have to put it in the van. There, I told you. And everyone's just like, there's a van? And there's an actual van. And I'm thinking, why? It's not funny, it's not clever writing, it's stupid. It's like, did none of them see it? It's just sitting there. And then to make matters worse, it happens again. Because once they, like, escape the Indominus for, like, the umpteenth fucking time, they're all like, what do we do now? Like, where do we go now? And he points, he goes, go into the genetics lab, and it's right in front of their faces. How do they miss it? Like, literally, it's right there.
This is the cliches of a cheap show, though, isn't it?
And he has the cheat
to animate the journey to it. We just say it's over there.
Yeah, but he also has the cheat to go, it's a gift. I'm like, it ain't a gift, it's called shit script. It's called shit writing. Oh, this is what I mean. And everyone's like, calm down, it's a kid's show. It fucking ain't. It's called Jurassic World, it better be good, right? It's like, At the end of the day, kids show or not, like we established in the first fucking 10, 20 minutes of the video, I established that so that everyone could understand that you have to realise that just because it is for kids doesn't mean it has to be shit and nonsensical.
No, not at all.
Exactly. Things can be a bit, unbelievable. Like, yeah, maybe there are a couple of bits that... I don't know, you can have the odd Ex Machina moment, as they say, the oh so close, like, oh, almost got me, but not quite. But there's so much of that in this film. I keep saying film, to me it's a film.
Because you've just sat and watched all of them back to back.
Yes, I have, from the safety of my home this time. I did actually witness it on the island, but, it didn't go too well for me. I've been able to see it from 2 different angles. But yeah, oh man, literally. Okay, yeah, so we spoke about Dave and Roxy. It's probably obvious we totally haven't just cut half an hour of ranting out. So we spoke about Dave and Roxy, just because I wanted to get them out of the way. Oh man, I've got one more thing to say about them, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I've got to say it. So there's this stupid bit where they're in a room doing fuck all, and he's like, are you going to pick that lock? And Roxy's like, yeah, I saw a video from Brooklyn. Because earlier in the show... Again, I hate it. I hate plot coincidences. I hate it. I hate it so much. Like, even in the original Jurassic Park, what a coincidence that the girl is a computer whiz. That's why she's able to get the system back up and running. But I can kind of forgive it, right? Not being funny, you could be an electrician and say, I know how to get the power on. Do you see what I mean? So I can forgive it. But when you've got a locked gate and you've got someone who just so happens to know how to pick a lock with a hair clip so they can get in... And again, they're up to no good. This is before they know there's been an outbreak. So I'm just thinking...
They're conveniently in a room that has no windows. Or...
No, it's the... I'm talking about Brooklyn first with the zip line.
Oh, okay.
Because she does it with a hair clip, doesn't she? And then that's when she says... She's like, what? I did a video on it. And everyone's like, okay, fine. I'm just like... Alright, I'll let you off. I've seen kind of videos like that, so yeah, fine. Not with the hair clip, but then that I'm thinking, alright, I'll let them off. I'm not letting them off the fact that they're breaking the rules again, but I will let them off the fact that technically that kind of stuff could be possible because she's a big YouTuber. She's probably done stuff like that. I can sort of believe it. Not much. I wouldn't have it in there personally, but if I'm gonna split hairs, that's one that I could do without splitting, if you will. But where I cannot handle but to split the hair is when Roxy later does the same thing, claiming that she saw Brooklyn's video on it. And I'm thinking, what, you saw her video? I know she's supposed to be this big YouTuber, but... I don't know. It's like that. It's not like they've established that she's a fan. Yeah. And the fact that she even turns around, it's so cringe, though. The fact that he's like, are you picking that lock? And she's like, yeah, I saw Brooklyn's video with it. It was actually so good I subscribed. I'm like, cringe! We don't need to know that! Cringe! And to make matters worse, that door clearly doesn't even have a lock on it. It's just a normal, wardrobe.
Yeah.
And, to make matters even worse, it's the finished shittest piece of wood, and when they open it, only then is it revealed there's 1,000 fucking walkie-talkies, all switched on, all with people screaming. A, why would... It's a staff room. A, why would the walkie-talkies be locked anyway? B, it makes no sense to have the walkie-talkies there anyway, because next to it's a fucking fridge. So I'm just like, what is this room? And then 3, she doesn't even pick a damn lock. Like, there's no lock there to be picked, 'cause it's not that kind of door. And fucking 4, D, whatever I fucking started on, I think I went A, B, C, 3. I don't know what I did. The last point is the fact that there is no sound until she opens the doors, and then it's really loud. It would make more sense if she heard a muffle, and that's what made her open the damn door. But, it's like everything just... fucking useless. They're fucking useless. She puts up such a fight. Like, even at the end, one of the last shots is her saying, turn this boat around. It's not that far a drop. As the boat started to leave, she could have just jumped off. If she wanted to stay, right? She could have just jumped off. Fucking hell. Literally, it's like, they really didn't want to save the kids. They didn't put up a fight. They kept making jokes. And they couldn't leave each other's side. There's 2 of them.
That was the annoying thing.
Fucking useless. But yeah, so Darius, let's move on to Darius. So Darius, what I want to say is, so his character actually gets my nerves, and the reason he gets my nerves is because I know it's part of the show and he's supposed to develop, but I don't think he develops enough. It's kind of like when he starts to finally realise that he's wrong, everyone tells him he's not. So he doesn't actually learn anything. So Darius, he's a dino freak. Like, he loves dinosaurs and everything, and he thinks he knows it all because of what he's read. And that would have been an interesting feature if what happened didn't kind of correspond with what he'd read. Like, he finds out that everything he knows is not right. And they try to play on that, but not enough. Like, at first, he's like, oh, the smoke will clear the raptors away. And he, like, jumps into the pen well too willingly just to save Kenji. And he's just like, it's alright, the smoke will distract him. And obviously, but then he's not proven wrong because the smoke just stops. It would have been great if they weren't bothered by the smoke and proved that he was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, when provoked, the raptors won't give a fucking shit about the smoke. Do you see what I mean? That's what... that would have been nice if what he'd learnt was kind of wrong, and that's when he starts to doubt himself, but there was none of that. It was kind of like, well, the smoke stopped, that's why it didn't work. And then the next time, he's like zigzag because the Carnotaurus is good in straight lines but not in zigzags, and that works as well. They get a hell of a lead on it at one point. And he starts to doubt himself towards the end, but for the wrong reasons, really, because pretty much everything he says and does kind of work out for him. So it feels forced, like they're trying to... You see what I mean? Like, they should have gone down the road that I'm saying, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And it's almost like when he starts to feel down right at the end, it's almost like that's how he should have felt in my version of the script, not the script they actually, essentially did. Now, in my personal opinion, like I said, I think he's stupid. Like, he gets himself in a stupid peril for no reason. Like I said, you've been on the island for 5 minutes. You've seen quite a few dinosaurs. What's your problem? Why can't you wait? His poor excuse is, oh, I don't want to waste a moment. Mate, you could get kicked off the island. Then you'd waste the whole bloody week, wouldn't you? Now, this personally is a way to fix it, right? This is how I would fix this whole character arc and that whole scene in the first film, in the first episode. I keep saying fucking film. So for me personally, episode 1 should be this. A bit like Charlie and Chocolate Factory, you kind of learn everyone's backgrounds a little bit, but mainly focus with Darius. We should have him and his dad. It should start with him and his dad getting excited about planning their trip, but then his dad gets ill. And then you see like not necessarily a montage, but you kind of see him deteriorate. Like, they're still planning. Like, maybe as the seasons go, they're saving up, but then maybe because of his chemotherapy or something, they have to keep postponing the trip.
Yeah.
And that would make sense why they never get to go, and it would be really tragic. And obviously his dad buys him, which they do. They have raptor teeth necklaces, which I'll get to in a minute. So you've got the establishment there. You ain't got the stupid, cringy brother walking in with just exposition, then walks out of the show, never to be seen again. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he'll probably be in season 2, but we'll get to that. Put that on a shirt. We'll get to it. Never do. But yeah, it's cringe, right? Instead of his brother sharing all this bullshit exposition, let's just see it. Instead of the flashback that doesn't happen until like episode 4, let's just see it. Like, I don't think it actually serves the character flashing back to it to make us feel sorry for him halfway through a show. Because you've got to remember there's only 8 episodes. Yeah. And I actually think personally it would have been a stronger beginning if we learned what Darius had been through to get on that damn island. He should have lost his dad, and then eventually, like, he's like, I guess we'll never go, and he's really upset, and obviously his dad passes away, and that's a big deal. But then all of a sudden, on the news and on the radio, there is a big event for Jurassic World. You can win the chance to actually go there with a VR game, and that's what. And maybe his mum or someone and his brother, maybe for his birthday, much like Charlie, gets the money to buy the chocolate bar. Maybe they buy him the game in the hope that it's his chance to get on the island.
Yeah.
He then wins. It's a fucking big deal. We've witnessed what he goes through, and he gets on the island in a great way. We establish the importance of the VR game and the importance of the victory. And when he gets there, again, it's sort of like the Charlie treatment. Everyone got their place for a reason. Like, again, Yaz's reason's fine. She's an athlete and she's sponsored by World, so it makes sense. Jurassic World sponsor her. So that makes sense. So that's her explanation of why she's there. Brooklyn makes sense. She's the biggest YouTuber, so exclusive access. That makes sense. Sammy, maybe she... you get the idea. They'll go through them all. And when it comes to Darius, they all know it's because he won the right to be there, because of his dinosaur knowledge, which is another reason why they're so quick to listen to him. Because he's the only person in the world who beat the game, based on his knowledge.
Yeah.
And, for me personally, that would make more sense, also, if, when he finally gets to the island, because it's Camp Cretaceous, we're supposed to see exclusive stuff. We didn't. It was just a jungle. We saw the genetics lab that looked shitter than what it looked great in the film, but again, because of cheap animation, it just looked like a generic lab. So, other than seeing the lab, what did they see that no one else did? We didn't even get to see the damn camp. Like, it's all up in the trees. We saw a bunk bed and a games room, but not even much of the games room. So, but for me personally, what it should have been is, because the Raptor squad isn't on the, because they're being experimented on, they're not part of the actual park's attractions. So it would have made sense if during the day they actually went to see the Raptors as an exclusive behind the scenes look at one of the park's dinosaurs that aren't actually on display. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Especially as the camp's so damn close to it. Because obviously you see the neon lights, don't you? I say neon, but you know, the floodlights. Which is why Darius goes there at night. But because the Raptors are shy, well, I say shy because they're like hunting, and because none of them are Owen, maybe they hide in the bushes because they're stalking essentially, and no one can get a good look at them. But the reason it means so much to Darius is because maybe it was his and his dad's favourite dinosaur. That's why they've got the raptor tooth necklaces, which they do. They have raptor teeth necklaces. How did they not play on that? So what it should have been is he gets to see the raptors as an exclusive part of the park for the Camp Cretaceous people, right? You know, the Camp Cretaceous clan, or whatever you want to call them, squad. But because he doesn't get to see them properly, later on he goes back. That would at least give him good motivation because it's his favourite dinosaur. It means the most to him. We've established his relationship with his dad, who's sadly not with us, and we've established how much it means to him to see the dinosaur that him and his dad never got to see together.
Yeah.
And that's why he goes back at night, knowing full well it's the raptor pen, rather than what we've got, which is, oh, it's a random compy and I want to go back and see it again. So I want to break the rules and risk getting... Just see what I mean? There's no reason to risk it for a compy that you've already had the closest encounter probably anyone's going to have. You know, other than Dieter Stark, who got killed by him in the Lost World.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and, of course, the little girl on the beach. But anyway, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that not sound so much better in terms of a character development, a story development, and more sensical reason why he broke the rules?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
This is just off the top of my head.
It just adds more gravity to it. Yeah, and this is what I mean by the show feeling very empty, in that if you're going to go down the route of having this Charlie and the Chocolate Factory-esque kind of format, say, play on it.
Use it. Use it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the show said, like the creators of the show said, like even in the I still can't fucking say it. What is it?
Synopsis.
Thank you. Even in that, they emphasise that these characters go from strangers to friends to family. They don't. And if they're saying that they will eventually, that's not good enough. They said this season. Again, I think too many things now come out for another thing. Let me say it better. Too many things. Fuck's sake. I know what I'm trying to say. It's the head injury. It's getting to me. Too many things are created today to build up the next instalment. Like, I still can't say what I'm trying to say. All right, Crimes of Grindelwald, right? Or Grindelwald, whatever it is.
It's a sequel for a sequel.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. In other words, this in some ways feels like it's just building for the next series. Like in some ways about the survival, and obviously it does stand alone on its own, but what I mean is when it comes to statements like that where they're saying they go from strangers to friends to family, but that doesn't actually happen, which I'll get to in a second, they can't then turn around and say, oh no, well we mean eventually. It's like, mate, you said that to sell this season, not next season.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, don't you?
Yeah.
So
yeah, yeah.
everything they've said, like about real consequences and real fear and real danger, I have to base it on what I've seen now. And I'm sorry, none of them seemed genuinely scared. And when they did, for the odd facial expression, it just looked awkward because it kind of felt out of place because they haven't really been phased up to this point. The only time I saw real fear was probably in Brooklyn when she thought she was going to get, killed by a load of mud. Like she started to like cry a bit. And there was a really good moment, I must say, where, like I said, she's teary-eyed, and Darius is kind of like, holy shit, this is it. Like, he doesn't know what to do, he just sits down, he's just looking back at her and thinking, fuck, what have I done? I've caused this.
Yeah.
But then they get out of it, and it's brushed over. And again, he doesn't really bring it up until later, when he's just like, everything I've done has gone wrong.
And again, this is back to how I feel that the characters never developed. All these events, near-death experiences and whatnot. And not once did it faze them enough to, one, not do it again, but two, not learn and grow from it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the person who probably grew the most would be Brooklyn, but even that's minor. But we might as well talk about her now. We move on from Darius. Like I said, there's more I could say, but I'm already waffling on. I just got so much to say. Literally, I've got like 7 pages of notes, people. 7 pages, and I've hardly looked at them. 7 pages. I should have just read them out, and then this video would have been done quicker. But okay, so I probably think Brooklyn's the best character, because she actually makes some kind of change, right? What are you laughing at? I think she's a good character. What are you laughing at? Got the wrong idea, mate. You got the wrong idea. Fucking hell. I can still hear you laughing, that's the thing. You're just like, here we go. This ought to be good. What BS you coming out with, Ash? She's like,
well, I just disagree. I think she was one of the most annoying, but...
Okay, you think she's one of the most annoying?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I'll tell you why I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. So, yes...
Not the most annoying, but one of.
I found them all annoying. All of them were annoying. All of them. And I mean all of them. Like I said, you're supposed to feel for Darius, but you made too many stupid mistakes. And I know you're supposed to learn from your mistakes, but like I said, some of like we've just been talking about, his reasons weren't justified. So therefore, he's making literally stupid mistakes. And he was never truly punished. Like I said, they didn't even mop up the shit. It's the one job they had to do, and they didn't even have to do it because when they came back, they didn't know they were up to no good. Like the staff members are useless anyway, but they were just like, "How did you find it?" And the pile has clearly not moved, and they were just like, "All right, hit the showers." It would have been a good twist. Now, if that was a good show, what would have happened is they would have got back and said, right, we're all going for ice cream or something. You guys can join us once you finish that. And they're just like, you kidding me? And that would have been funny. Not only would it have been funny, but it would have shown some consequence. It's like, yeah, you might have skived on mopping up the shit, but guess what? You're there till it's done.
Yeah.
It's true though, isn't it? That's what it would have been.
Yeah.
But instead, it's just like, oh, I'm going to have 50 showers. I'm going to explain to you how the dinosaurs didn't die from toxic farts or something. I'm just like, oh, hilarious. You know, that's really funny. No consequence, and you're still taking the piss. You see, it's like, fucking hell. Day 2, broke the rules again. Also, Darius is very quick to blame people. Like, he's very quick to blame Kenji for what went wrong. And I'm thinking, mate, he wouldn't have even been there if you weren't. So...
True.
The blame is a bit more split than he's making out. But anyway, so Brooklyn. The reason why I think Brooklyn's probably the best character is because she actually develops properly. I'd say close would be Yaz, but Yaz is very stereotypical. It's like, oh, I'm insecure, don't want friends. Then she starts to learn to like a friend. Then she gets betrayed by the friend, and then by the end of it, they're friends again. Yeah. That's kind of it. It bases around... doesn't want friends, gets friends. That's her story arc. Whereas with Brooklyn, you got to think of it. At first, she's very much Miss Popularity, and although she's got pink hair, she's essentially supposed to be like a blonde bimbo, I guess. Like that's probably how people look at her. They're just like, oh, Mrs. Popularity, and we all know why. You know, they're probably thinking you may have millions of followers online, but you've probably only got a handful of brain cells. which is why when she starts accusing the likes of like Sammy and stuff, I don't think many people take her seriously, mainly for that reason, because they're just like, oh, you just want attention. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they even say the world doesn't revolve around you. And I actually started to feel sorry for her because, like, let me just get my notes up because I want to make sure I cover everything properly. So, okay, all right. So, the first note, I'll mention this. Okay, so one thing I really hated about Brooklyn was her little kapow, kapow. It reminded me of Lightning McQueen. Lightning McQueen, literally, it's like ka-chow. It's literally what it reminded me. But she's like kapow, pew, pew, pew. I'm just like, no. Oh shit! But no, as a character, right? Not being funny, right? So, where's those fucking notes? So, in all seriousness, with Brooklyn, whatever her name is. At first, you think about it. So her motivations, and again, this is why I think she's a good character, whereas I don't think Darius is. I think Darius has a good tragic backstory, and yes, he has moments where he's a good leader, and I'm not saying he's a bad person. I just don't think he's a well fleshed out character. Like I said, my one solution to his reasonings, even if you cut out the stuff with the dad, him going to the raptor pen because it's his favourite dinosaur, even just that would have still drastically improved the reasoning to go out late at night and break the rules. But the fact that he's going to see a dinosaur he's already seen makes no sense. So again, like I said, there's no real reason to break the rules. There's no proper motivation, none that we could kind of forgive. With Brooklyn, there is. You see, at first she's a bit self-centered, you know, everything does kind of in a way revolve around her. She's kind of like, she's not horrible, like even when Sammy says, oh, I'm a big fan, she doesn't say, oh yeah, well, stay away from me. She's actually quite happy to hear it. She's like, oh yeah, cool, and she's quite happy to hear that, oh, she's got someone actually knows who she is, kind of thing. And when it starts, like I said, she's trying to obviously sell her experience to all of her followers, and obviously being a content creator myself, I do understand sometimes there is like expectation. I mean, obviously I'm not exactly a big YouTuber, but even then you kind of feel in your head, I really need to do a video on that, I really need to do this, you feel like you have to, you feel like they're essentially strangers watching your videos, but you feel you owe them something. Yeah. And obviously, yeah, if they're paying for your career, like someone like me who's pretty much just does this on the side and it doesn't finance me, I feel like I owe people who essentially don't, in a way, benefit my life, but I still feel like I owe them. Whereas someone like her, she genuinely does owe them because essentially they are funding her life. And it's clear that it's become like with this, it's a passion. With her, it clearly was, but it isn't. Now it's more of a burden. She is trying to up the stakes to keep her followers. They're literally messaging her hate mail saying, you've made Jurassic World boring, you suck, and she takes it to heart because she's thinking, why am I still losing subscribers? Why am I still losing followers? And I feel sorry for her because, like, she is trying, as you can see, like, she's like, I've barely got here, give me some time. She's like, I've barely got here. That's half the reason why she goes out with them and breaks the rules. So she essentially breaks the rules because she has a motive to do so. It's the same with the genetics lab. She is kind of forced, in a way, to try and get some juicy stuff for her fans. And again, you know, call it what you want, but it's still motivation. It's still, you know, something that we can look back on and say she had a reason to do it. And I think they could have done more, and I will get into that, but at the end of the day, when you watch the show, she starts off, like I said, by pretty much trying to impress her fans, and, you know, even when Darius is telling her story, well, Darius is telling his story, rather, she's kind of like, again, interrupting with the pictures and stuff, because it's the classic case of, you know, when you've got like people, you know, you think people are living a great life because of the Instagram pictures, but reality, they probably spent half an hour taking a picture of that freaking dinner before they got to eat it. You know what I'm saying, don't you? Yeah. You know, those people where they literally, their life looks glamorized, but that's because the truth is they've probably spent all day getting one good picture to make their life look good. It's like I used to be the same. I used to not glamorize my life, but whenever there was a family occasion, I'd almost feel burdened to take the pictures and take the videos, and I haven't done it because I thought to myself, I haven't done it for a few years now, because I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to spend the whole day documenting it, like trying to get really good pictures making us look like we're having a great time, I'm not going to have a great time doing it. And it's like we're just going to be left with the idea of a good time and not actually the experience of one. You know, I'd rather have fond memories up here than a good picture to look at, you know, but no memories to go with it. So, and I think it's the kind of same thing with like what we're seeing here. She's trying in a way hard to do a good video to the point where she's not even really enjoying herself, and that much is proven when she's in the gyrosphere kind of feeling sorry for herself because people are starting to get to her. And the reason I start feeling sorry for her is because people online are being mean to her because they're basically saying you suck, the content's crap, and she's essentially only there for her fame, essentially, because she's a great YouTuber. Apparently, it's a big YouTuber. That's the only reason why she's there. But now she's there, everyone's basically saying you suck. It does make her look good, you know what I mean? You know, so so she feels she has to basically impress some strangers, essentially, because her whole life seems to be a popularity contest. If she loses her fans, she loses her fame. So therefore, she can't just switch it off. And, you know, when all shit goes down and Sammy obviously steals the phone and all that, you got all that plot and everything, everyone's quick to take Sammy's side because she's bubbly and nice to everyone. But because Brooklyn, you know, again, being Miss Popularity, you know, across the internet, you know, everyone always assumes that she thinks that the world revolves around her, when she never once said it did. She never once claimed it did. All she wanted to know is, where's my fucking phone? And, you know, she has good reason to confront Sammy. But because no one else sees the evidence, they just assume that she's just being a bully, even though that's like the complete opposite to who she actually is. And apparently, and that's another thing, apparently everyone used their phone at some point. They're all saying, well, we all used it at some point. I'm thinking, no, I'm sorry, no. Modern day, no way has anyone used their phone other than her. That would be password protected like fuck. Not just a kid, but especially a girl. That'd be password protected, and probably would never leave her side. So I'd like to know when they took that, in the dead of night when she was sleeping. She must be a heavy fucking sleeper, I'm telling you. But yeah, literally, I'm just like, wow, you know, how has everyone used their phone? But yeah, so I feel sorry for her, basically, because, like I said, everyone's mean to her on the internet. You know, everyone's mean to her in the group, really, because, you know, she's accusing Sammy. Probably also because of her fame. I think jealousy's partly of some of it, but also I think they assume that she's one-dimensional because of her success, if that makes sense. Because of her position in the world. I think some people think that she's, you know, probably, you know, in love with herself when she ain't. Obviously, that's Tenji's or Kenji's job, whatever his fucking name is.
Yeah.
But she also, it really pissed me off because I said some really good stuff the other day and I can't remember none of it. But also you got to remember that she also makes the biggest change, because everyone pretty much gives her a hard time when she accuses Sammy, and rightfully so, because she's got footage proving that Sammy's up to no good. When she accuses Sammy of taking her phone, everyone's quick to pretty much say she's wrong and, you know, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And in a way, they kind of ignore that plot for a while, and then they keep coming back to it. And whenever they come back to it, obviously Brooklyn almost picks off where she left off, and everyone again does the same. They all moan at her. And then when she's proven to be right, no one fucking apologises. No one apologises. And in fact, Darius, you know, is a bit of a prick, because as soon as she kind of discovers that Sammy did take the phone, and she's like, oh, that's why you were snooping around in Woo's office. Darius is like, yeah, well, why were you there, Brooklyn? It's like, no, don't change the subject. You know, it's like he's so quick to quickly moan about her again. And this ain't long after they were in the back of the van, and she was like, well, this would be a lot easier if I had my phone. And then he says, well, you stop going on about the phone. There's a lot more important things than your phone. I'm thinking, look, to be perfectly honest with you, she's well within her rights to moan about the phone, because they probably get in their head that she only wants the phone because she's worried about her subscribers. She's worried about not being able to survive the island, and she knows if she had her fucking phone, she could call for help. She's got a GPS. She's got everything. Compass app. You know what I mean? She can do
True.
shit. And
Very true.
but they overlook that, I think, and they're just so quick to say, stop going on about your phone. But I think what she's getting at is, she's like, look, I don't care who's taken the damn phone. If you tell me that you took it, tell me where it is. Because if Sammy was to then say, okay, I took it, it's under my pillow back at camp, that's then an option for them. They can go back and get it, possibly. They can maybe find a way to get up in the treehouse and get it. So I think that's what she's trying to emphasise. She's basically trying to say, look, I don't care who's taken it at this point, I just want it back so we can get off this fucking island. But every time she mentions it, everyone's like, well, you shut the fuck up about your phone. The world isn't revolve around you and your phone. And that's why I feel sorry for her, because I don't think she's not doing it for her own benefit. She's trying to do it for everyone's. But because it's her, and because she was quick to blame Sammy, even though she had good reason, everyone, again, likes Sammy, so they're quick to moan at her.
Yeah, that's fair.
And despite all that, though, she's still like the first to properly forgive Sammy, and she offers her an olive branch. You know, they become friends, and she's the first to do it. Obviously, Kenji gives her a little talking to, which is funny. The fact that Kenji, the one person who, you know, is not the voice of reason, suddenly becomes it. It feels really forced, but there we are. And they joke around about it, but I still don't think joking about it makes it any better, that you've still done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she does. She goes, because this is just after the Mosasaur bit, and she basically forgives her, and she's the first to really do it. Like, even Darius gets an opportunity when they're stuck on the rafts together, and she's explaining why she did it, and he still doesn't understand. Like, she even says about her family being in need, they're going to lose the ranch and everything, and he's like, but I still don't understand. And she interrupts him, and she's like, what would you do for your family? And then he starts to kind of get it. I'm thinking, Darius, I tell you, for someone who's broke the rules for no fucking good reason, like we've established, they weren't a good reason, you're very judgmental. And the fact that she says, I did it for my family, and he's like, I still don't get it. It's like, mate, what I don't get is someone who can show up on an island they've been waiting for their whole life, and within 5 minutes break the fucking rules for no reason. That's what I don't get. That's what I don't get. So no, I mean, I had a lot more to say about Brooklyn, but I'll probably do a separate video, because like I said, I had lots of ideas. I got a lot of notes here, and they're turning into hieroglyphs. There's literally page after page, and it's so hard to find a specific thing. But this is supposed to be a first thoughts anyway, so really it should be what I'm remembering, and what I'm remembering is what I've said, and I've said exactly that. I think she has the biggest character development, in the sense of she starts off as, you know, an online personality, you know, with the followers and the hey Brooklanders and all that, and like, she's obviously pampering is the word, I think, for her audience. And then when they start to say, oh, you suck, she then pampers a little more, you know, putting herself at risk for more juicier content, you know, just to please her followers, and, you know, getting herself into trouble in the process. And obviously, you know, as time goes by, she becomes more emotional and more frustrated that her content isn't being appreciated. You know, hell, she even snaps at Darius in the gyrosphere as a result of it. But then she's quick to apologise, you know, and she even starts to open up a bit to him. You know, explaining that it's just her alleged fans getting the better of her. But as if the fans weren't bad enough, not long after that, everyone in the group then starts to give her a hard time, because she accuses Sammy of, you know, taking her phone and being up to no good and all that stuff. And then, when she's proven to be right, she's the first one to actually forgive Sammy. So, yeah, I just think that she's the one who actually has the most development, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. What?
No, I'm just laughing. No, I'm just laughing, Jimmy. Oh man, I wish I could remember what I said. Literally, I said so much before and it was good. I've just repeated myself like 20 minutes. It's like I haven't even said anything I was going to. It's really pissing me off.
We've been going for an hour and a half, and we're already halfway through the character.
I want to cry. Okay, so fucking hell.
Have you lost momentum?
I've lost momentum. I want to cry. It's like I literally had in my head a whole defense speech about Brooklyn, and then as soon as I finally was able to talk about her, it all just went out the window. I had a whole fucking speech because I think she's a good character and I had some really valid reasons, and I think I've mentioned a couple of them, but it's surrounded in a load of shit. And I'm just like, I had such a focused
review of her, and it's gone. And it really upsets me because I'm like the typical person right now. It's like, no, they are good because you know that's what it's coming across as. But I genuinely have like good reasons. Like I said, I think I've still said enough in the sense of, like I said, she goes through the different changes, and I think because she's the first to forgive, despite the fact that she essentially got hurt the most. Because Yaz, although her friendship, she finally allowed someone to be her friend, and then she was betrayed, it didn't affect her really in any other way than that. That was it. That's where it kind of started and ended. It affected Brooklyn a lot more because it turned people against her. It made Yaz nasty to her, which it did. Like even subtle things like holding the leaf up and then whacking it in her face, essentially, like letting it drop on her. Just little petty things like that. I mean, you're in the wild trying to survive, and you've got someone doing that shit to you. You don't need that shit, right? And that's all. That's all because you're accusing the right person of stealing your shit.
Yeah.
And and so I just feel like she was treated the worst, considering the fact that she didn't actually do anything wrong. And like I said, the few things she does do that might be considered annoying or wrong, they're few and far between, and she at least has a good reason for doing it, which is what Darius is so fucking lacking, in my opinion. Yeah?
Yeah.
And obviously that brings us quickly on to Yaz, I guess, because there's not much to say. Like we've just said, literally, her whole philosophy is she's obviously an athlete, so she spends most of her time training, and she lives a very solitary life, it would seem. She's so insecure, and so, she wants to blend into the background. She doesn't really do phones, as she says, and she doesn't do people either, as she says. Which
no, it almost. I mean, again, a character that's lacking massively because she never really had a backstory other than, Jurassic World sponsor me.
And you only find that out right at the end.
But spend some time getting to know all your characters.
Yes.
Rather than just Darius.
Yes.
Before everything that happens, and it makes everything that happened on the island meaningful. So
yeah, I mean, I think there should have been a few.
Why didn't we see that she had parents that were pushing her to do this sporting career that she didn't want to do?
Yeah.
And she's saying, no, I want to be an artist, because she obviously had that bit with the drawings in her notebook, and this is what I want to do. Yeah. This is where my passion lies. And she ends up going to the island because they've sponsored her and her parents are making her do it, but she doesn't really want to be there.
It's really
there could have been a lot more to her character.
Yes, I agree. Really, really good points there, Jake. Yeah, I 100% agree. I did put a note somewhere saying about her drawing could have gone somewhere. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. Literally, that would mean so much more. Like, she's a bit shy because, like you said, she's been alienated from people in her life because she's been told you got to compete. Guess what? We're back to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly.
We've just got the reality side of it, rather than, I chew gum for a living and me and my mum are athletes essentially, but I'm happy with that. You've got the opposite side of it. You've got, my mum and dad have always forced me to strive and compete and be the best, but really my passion is art. So yeah, like you said, that would have been great if that was kind of like, and maybe Sammy even says to her, like, if this is what you do, you should, like, you've got a future in this, and that maybe that's why it hurts her even more when she feels betrayed, that she literally opened up her deepest, darkest secrets and then was betrayed.
Yeah,
but
then was betrayed.
Yeah, but again, because we only spend like I think it's about 3, maybe 4 episodes on the island with them before the events of Jurassic World, but even then, they're all almost getting killed by fucking dinosaurs that they shouldn't be seeing, and mud. Like a muddy puddle almost kills 2 of the characters. It's embarrassing. So embarrassing, right? But even down to that, take away that shit. I don't think they need to be in peril every episode. Kids can be entertained. Kids...
Yeah, I agree. It was the whole reason they did it was because it was Dinosaur Week format, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I don't like it.
Well, even though it was a binge watch, but... first episode is Raptors, second episode is whatever, third episode is the gyrospheres, and with the...
Yep.
I can never remember half the dinosaur names, and then...
Oh, the gyrospheres was a... fuck me, for God's sake. Singoceratops or something? Fucking Dingoceratops.
Yeah, something
Sino, I think it was. Sino.
Yeah,
Ceratops.
But yeah, it felt like they had to throw in a dinosaur that put them in peril every episode, which wasn't necessary.
Yeah, I agree. I just think the first few episodes.
Personally, I think it would have been pretty cool if the series was a bit longer in terms of episodes.
Yeah,
so maybe,
it was too short.
Maybe double the amount of episodes, and the first 2-3 episodes maybe each episode is introduction to 2 of the campmates. So the first episode you see Darius and Yasmina, and the second episode you see Sammy and Kenji, and the next episode it's Ben and Yasmina or whatever, or Brooklyn, sorry, and then by the end of the third episode, that's when we're at the island, but we've still got a good, 13 episodes worth.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's the thing. That's why I feel it feels more like a film, because when you watch it in one swoop, it's a long film and it's very repetitive, but it just feels like one small adventure. And it's not necessarily in a good way, because, like I said, we had 3 or 4 episodes with the gang, but it weren't enjoyable. It was just like, why are you getting yourself in a stupid trouble? Like, they're getting themselves into peril, but you know it's going to happen eventually anyway. There's no real build-up. Like, they finally had a good reason here to show us a working park where it all goes well and eventually things go bad. But instead, it just, they're almost getting killed before there's even... And some people would probably argue and say, that just shows you how dangerous the place was and how it was always destined to fail. And I'm just thinking, that's just poor excuse, and that's just a bad way. I think it's a poor excuse to defend poor writing, in my opinion. I think there is a great story out there that could have been told, maybe even with these characters. Like you've said, you've already improved Yasminda's story by making it, in my opinion, by making it, like you said, the parents are pushing her to be something she doesn't want to be. I still think there's a good story with Brooklyn, which I'll quickly go back to actually, because I just remembered one of the main points I had that could have improved her character. So I actually think, rather than Darius making the stupid mistakes for no reason, I think in a desperate ploy to keep her relevancy on the internet and to keep her followers, it's actually Brooklyn that goes to extreme circumstances. Like, she's the one who keeps getting in trouble because she's trying to impress her audience.
Yeah, Darius should have been the goody two-shoes that did nothing.
Yeah, essentially.
But had the dinosaur knowledge.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, maybe it's her and Kenji, I guess, but it would be better if he weren't in the damn show. But it should have been her and someone else maybe doing the dino poo, and then that's when they're like, I'll show you a dinosaur that's not even in the park anymore, and that to her that'd be like, this is gold, because no one else is going to get this footage. And I could believe her breaking the rules for, like I said, for that reason, even after previously breaking the rules, because again, her motives would at least be to her followers. Like, she's become obsessed with trying to impress them. That I could buy into that. And like I said, I think there is a good story there. I genuinely think that they could have played with her a bit more than they did. Fucking not in that way. Fucking hell. We're not sick-minded, are we?
Poor choice of words.
Fuck's sake. Oh shit.
Even if you said they could have played around with her character more,
I almost did.
But
and
instead you went, they could have played with her better. They could have played with her more, sorry.
I mean, yeah, they could have, Fucking hell. No, obviously, they could have done more with her character. Hello there, hoppers, and welcome. Now, you've caught me in a bit of a predicament, you see. I'm currently on Isla Nublar, and I'm a bit lost, not gonna lie. I've been walking around for a while now, and I haven't been able to find the route I took to get here.
So I don't think it's that way somehow. Yeah. Who knew there'd be so many stinging nettles on a tropical island? And I sure as shit ain't going in there with these shorts on. Look at that. With these fucking shorts. Have to try and find enough. I'm not alone on this island. Ow, you fucking stinging nettles, man, everywhere. Fucking nettles. The fucking stinging nettle just stung me in the freaking arse crack. Look at them. Look at that. It's like a sea of nettles there. And you get this one little son of a bitch, you know what I mean, creeping up on my fucking foot. Take that, you piece of weeding shit. Get off. Go on. Let's, ow, you son of a bitch. Why do people wear shorts in the jungle? It's never a good idea. Ah, fucking fawns. Ah. I'm officially bleeding to death. Look at that. This all looks the same to me. Should have brought some bread, left some trail of crumbs behind. So, now that's, you know, so now we understand the plot, now we can actually finally discuss the characters themselves. That's right, whatever it was, I think it's gone the other way. Just got to be a bit more quiet. I do get a bit enthusiastic, sometimes it gets the better of me. In this kind of situation, I'll get me killed. Right, hold on a sec. Okay, so let's talk about the characters. So, when it comes to characters, they... Okay. Right, the characters. When it comes to characters... Right, when it comes to characters... Fucking bush. When it comes to the characters, they